Hey, Juventinian, welcome to the All Juvecast. It's episode 162, and we're going to recap the season finale that came Sunday, which was Bologna versus Juventus. And we needed some help from the football gods, and they were with us on Sunday there. Juve coming out and getting the job done, and we got help from Verona. And, I put a tweet out there, Eric, and it was Juve was ahead of the game, man. Already getting ready to thank Hellas Verona next season with that third kit that Juve is going to rock next year. That's yellow and blue there. But how are you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good, man. It's been an exciting, nerve-wracking last 48 hours or so. So it's a good problem to have.
Absolutely. Thanks to everybody who's with us right out of the bat here. Alex P, David Furfaro, and a couple others here. Antonio joining in. Real quick, get this out of the way. Please follow All Juvecast on Twitter. Subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Even through the off season, we are going to have some special guests and do some cool shows focusing on Mercado and a lot of fun stuff going back on the decade of dominance too through some cool shows. So please subscribe. And if you're tuning in, like the video. It all helps. Now, let's get into this one with the big match. I know nerves were high and everybody's full of anxiety and whatnot going into this thing. I was actually out at the lake, so I was pretty relaxed. I was ready for whatever was gonna come, and maybe a few beers helped that. I felt okay. And then we were all waiting for the lineups. I know we were all talking on our group chat and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, no Cristiano. Kind of weird, out of nowhere. Yeah. Danilo in the middle, shaping up to be a 4-2-3-1 for me. So I was kind of with that because I thought we played really, really well in the only two times we've seen that. So I thought, okay, that's good, but very, very strange with Cristiano. Mixed reports too. It's going to be either he's too tired or maybe a look into the future and that it's away from Juventus. What was your initial reaction to no Cristiano in the lineup, Eric?
Well, I kind of took everything for face value because that's basically all you can do with some of the reports. So I kind of believed with this idea that it was a tactical decision. Just a part of me kind of felt like, okay, it kind of makes sense if you want to run a formation with certain players. I get that. And then it kind of came rumored to be that he was too tired, which out of all the things I think that could be rumored, that's the one I wouldn't believe it. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy. The balance of the season really is in this match. I don't see him going to the coach and saying, you know what, I really don't want to be a part of this game. I'm a little tired. So I found that one to be a little bit less true and more of a tactical decision. And I think once we kind of grabbed the game by the horns, there was no need for him. So that's why he just stayed on the bench.
Yeah. I'd like to think that that's kind of why. But I mean, the future being uncertain and whatnot, it's like obviously was going to lead to instant speculation about what's going on, even tactically, whatnot. It's interesting, but Pirlo made some bold moves, even just having a lot of faith in Kulusevski down the stretch. So it could have gone horribly wrong for him too. So he did show some balls towards the end here, I think, in this crucial last set of 4 or 5 matches, right? So you got to give him some props for something, but we'll get into that too. The lineups, honestly, just came down. Like, you're lining up across from Bologna. This has been the frustration a lot of the times throughout the season. It's lining up against these lesser teams, but just going out there and getting the job done, having the right attitude, approach. So really, ultimately, whoever was out there, again, throughout this whole final couple weeks, if you can't get up for these matches, then that's on you as a player, really. With us needing the win to get into Champions again, need some help. Yeah, you got to be able to do that as a professional for sure. But man, this game kicked off very, very, very nice. Man, we got 5 minutes in. Danilo with a ball over the top. Great chase by Morata. And Kulishevsky plays it out in front. Rabiot tries to, his first touch gets away from him, puts it off the bar, but Chiesa comes in and cleans it up 1-0. So absolutely a fantastic start for Juve. 1-0 up 5 minutes in. 28th minute, Dybala absolutely cleans up his man at the top of the area, gets in behind. Beautiful little chip up, and Morata staying onside. The Spanish Inzaghi. You always run that risk, but onside, 2-0. Fantastic. And even at a third before the end of the first half, and a great passing play. Beautiful passing play. Dybala goes in and tap back from Chiesa as he comes across. Kulishevsky then plays Rabiot, who finds acres of space, slots home. Absolutely amazing first half of football. Juve in total control. The play was just so fluid. Like it looked brilliant. And credit to Pirlo, because we started to see what he started to do, which was go with that top man. Even though at times the shape would be 4-4-2, he really isolated one man up top, which gave the rest of the players at the back and in the middle of the park one more outlet by using Kulishevsky in the games leading up to this one, and Dybala in this one as that one extra outlet. And then Chiesa and Kulishevsky could have played off of that and continue to move forward, right? So it was good to see. Big first half. Your thoughts at halftime there?
Probably the same as everybody else. I thought it was just we looked comfortable. We were playing freely. We looked relaxed. We were absolutely in control of this match at this point. And so I think at halftime, my concern started to switch from whether or not we would gain the points from this match, and then what other teams were going to drop points for us to be able to kind of get to where we need to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Put a tweet out there at halftime. It's sealed up for Juve. Would not see them doing that the way they were playing. Just no threat from Bologna. Milan and Atalanta. You start flipping through multiple devices. You see everybody watching 3 games at once, and that's what it came down to. And I put the tweet out there at halftime. I said, look, I'm comfortable now, but we need help. We need help from the football gods. We'll see if they're on our side. Milan and Atalanta. I was watching, and Atalanta, man, they played a strong lineup. Yeah. They had a strong lineup out there, but it wasn't looking like the typical Atalanta on the pitch, clunky and whatnot. So I was like, oh, I don't know here. Milan gets out to the 1-0 lead and almost added a second when I was watching. So it's like, oh, this is no good. I can't watch. So I stopped watching that one. Napoli and Verona, I was watching. It was level for quite some time. And then, of course, throughout at the beginning of the second half for us, maybe about 60th minute, man, you got Napoli going up 1-0, and then it's like we're in trouble. Verona was playing well. Yeah. They were playing really, really good football. They were hard done by to go down 1-0. So I was like, again, it's in the hands of the gods. In the hands of the gods. We'll get some comments here. Alex saying, love the hat. Is it going to be available? Maybe we'll make the all Juvecast team hats available. I don't know. We'll see. Alex, in terms of Ronaldo, when he didn't start, before the start of the game, you could see a scenario where he really might be tired since he put on a good shift in the Copa final. But come second half, you knew he just wasn't interested in getting out there. And the game being put away, there was no need, so we'll kind of take that way it is. But second half, man, really just kicking it off where we left off, 47th minute, Morata in clear. Shot gets stopped, but hops over the keeper and goes in. That's just the way it's been going. That's just the way it was going this match for Juve. So 4-0 up. Absolutely beautiful. In the 52nd and 56th minute, Morata gets another 2 great chances. And again, we talk about how fluid it was in the first half. It just continued in the second. It's really, really good. 85th minute, Bologna does find one through Orsolini. Shame that it had to come against Pinsolio, who actually found his way into the match and whatnot. But Juve sees it through comfortably. And, of course, all eyes were on these other matches. Milan, of course, you see on the ticker, got the job done against Atalanta. But Faroni, you magnificent bastard, scoring and leveling things with Napoli. And Napoli had some chances to put that thing away and win it, and they couldn't get it done. And Juve squeaks in there. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. And here we are. Making Champions League, won a couple trophies, and you've got a lot of rival fans. I knew the Chihuahuas would come out, and they did, saying Juve's celebrating this like it's some big, championship or whatnot. Well, first of all, fuck off. Second of all, yeah, when the threat of that is going away, yeah, I mean, you're going to celebrate hard. The guys fought hard, and it's like you watch a lot of these matches this season. I've been saying it. We've been the better side and just haven't been getting results, and the guys just haven't been getting jobs done here and whatnot. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to celebrate it for sure because I know what it means to the club, and we know the financial numbers would have been way worse and whatnot. But your thoughts in terms of people downplaying celebrations and whatnot, Eric?
I don't really pay attention to that, especially when it comes to rival fans. What I have more of an issue with is just periodically through the duration of the season, seeing our own fans kind of criticize how we as fans should be celebrating, or some of the comments being made where it's, well, we don't deserve to be there. We don't deserve to do this. And even if we, that type of stuff probably gets under my skin more than hearing rival fans just do what rival fans do and talk. And so I find less entertainment in that. I pay no attention to it. But the problem that I had is I've seen multiple people tell other fans and tell Twitter how Juventus doesn't deserve Champions League. And then when we qualify for it, seeing the turnaround in mentality.
Yeah, that's the thing, it's just, for me, it's like, this is what I find the most amusing is that, even in our worst season in the past 10 years, we're still in their heads and just living rent free. It's just absolutely hilarious to me. It's like, even, Merida fans, and it's just like, leave us alone. Like, you guys just won the championship. You're still yipping at us or whatnot. We're sitting here in fourth. Just barely qualifying, and it's like I loved if anybody didn't see it, the cover of the Gazzetta there on the weekend, Inter's blurb on their championship, like this small up at the top, and then you've got Milan and Juve, the big main pagers for their qualifications, and I just had to laugh. But they tweeted it out and just put, "This is when you win and realize people don't give a shit."
Yeah.
But it's absolutely hilarious. We wrap up the season, and now it's all about painting the picture of what it's going to look like in the next. It really is no break. I think, I knew it was going to be like that, and starting with Monday, probably start to get more of an idea who's staying, who's going, whatnot. Rumors are going to pick up, obviously, and you really have no time to just really soak it all in as to what happened, how the season truly went or whatnot. But I did put a tweet out there just in terms of Pirlo, and I feel like it's still does he deserve some credit? Because there's still some people saying he deserves no credit at all. Like, it's just like, no, he was a mess, whatnot. Yeah, he made mistakes and whatnot, but he also made some calls, especially towards the end, that were pretty ballsy. And the team kind of rallied. And the biggest thing I saw this season, if I look back, the one thing that stands out to me is that just the fight and the attitude and whatnot wasn't there for most of it. And if I actually put that towards the previous 2.5 seasons, arguably 3, this has been a team that those experienced managers ahead of Pirlo even had a hard time getting out of second gear, and establishing this mentality that we're known for consistently. So it's really, really hard to put it on a first-time coach and saying, man, you couldn't get these guys amped up and pumped every game and with the right approach. Yeah, that one's pretty hard. Did he make tactical errors? Absolutely. Did I expect a rookie manager to make tactical errors? Absolutely. It's really hard. Ultimately, even when they say at the end, this was the biggest comment I saw. He needed help. If he would have made Champions League comfortably, but the fact that he needed help from other rivals, that's why he needs to go. Well, ultimately, he found the right amount of points. And if you go historically, this is a high number of points to have to require to reach a Champions League spot. Like, it's usually high 60s, so that played into it. It was tight amongst all those, like 2 to 4, whatnot. Look at the race coming down to the wire. Really only Inter pulled away. We dropped so many points, bad points, a lot of player errors leading to goals and whatnot. But I don't know, man. I did see some good. Did we progress enough throughout the season? I would have to say no. So I've got some mixed feelings there. However, I will die on this hill. If we do not get a top-tier manager, I don't feel like we should make the change. But Eric, I'm going to leave it to you on the thoughts on all this, and should he deserve some credit or whatnot, and moving on from him.
I don't kind of want to overcomplicate things. I think as a spectator and as a fan, the way that we get to watch matches, I think when a coach has his basically hands on the team, you can see what he's trying to implement, his system. You can see it on the pitch. And I think for the most part of the season, Pirlo did not implement anything in terms of our direction, our system. We were pretty directionless, and I don't want to. It's easy to kind of look back after the last 4 or 5 matches, after you won the Copa, after you qualified for Champions League, when you're still on this emotional high, to kind of start making justifications. But I think if you look back as a whole, we were pretty bad for the majority of the year. And to me, it's more or less that we kind of flowed and we ride or die with the emotion of our players. And I think ultimately that's what it came down to. Even though Pirlo made some tactical changes, I don't know how much of those tactical changes led to our success versus just the players kind of going, okay, it's getting down to the wire. We need to start making some changes. And then the players made changes within their mentality, within their just their whole, their efforts on the pitch. So for me personally, I don't know what I would be crediting to Pirlo, because I don't know what he did versus what the players did. In the same breath, I also don't want to criticize him, because I can't just criticize him and not give him credit, and I can't just give him credit and not criticize him. So I don't know in terms of Pirlo. I agree, though. We've in our chat had multiple conversations about this. I think there's 2 names out there that to me are the only options, and that would be Allegri or Zidane. And if something happens where Zidane takes a sabbatical and Allegri finds himself in Madrid, then yeah, I do think that you keep Pirlo. I think he's proven that anybody else would be a lateral move, and then if not worse, because you possibly have to start all over again with chemistry with players and who you want to bring in with the Mercado. It would kind of set us back. Even a lateral coaching decision would probably set us back more than anything. So yes, I do agree that he should be the manager if the other two names don't find themselves at UV. Yeah. My issue is that I personally feel that because of this success, because of top four finish with 2 trophies, that they may actually be trying to I don't want to say push, but they may not be so quick to act on those 2 names. And then that ultimately kind of forces them to find greener pastures elsewhere. We lose out on a top tier manager because they're uncertain about whether or not Pirlo should stay. That's the only thing I'm kind of concerned with.
Yeah. My fear is, especially with some rumors from, people close to Pirlo's camp saying that it's already been communicated that he won't be staying. My fear is we are going full circle again in that Sarri hiring, where it was just like we've gotten rid of a manager and we still haven't anything locked in or done up. That's my fear. If there's any truth to those rumors that it's already been communicated, then that's where I start to really, really question this manager and if they've learned anything, from the past. Because again, we go through this list of names. Inzaghi doesn't excite me. He just doesn't. Mihailovic. For what?
I don't know how his name got thrown into that. But.
And apparently Mihailovic has been spoken to by Juve previously. So it's like, how? Gattuso. No. It just there's not enough of a step up there with those guys. Gasperini, I will give Gasperini that conversation because I think that's a warranted discussion. Yeah. I still don't feel I have some concerns about that one too. For me, it's you go top tier, or at some point you even just give a guy some Mercados, 2, 1 even for Christ's sake, with what we've seen lately, just to try and get some guys, And there are some people that are saying, hey, look, Pirlo went all out for Chiesa. He wanted Chiesa big time, and it paid dividends, whatnot. McKennie's one that nobody really knows if, he was okay, let's do that or whatnot. I think that was more just someone Paratici had been following, came at the right price, whatnot. So it's tough to say, but I don't know. If we don't have a set plan or idea, I don't want to see them doing it just for the sake of a managerial change. Especially when we look at this season, if we really wanted to break down all the scenarios that went against us, Lady Luck was not on our side in many, many circumstances, and I hate to use it as an excuse because I'm not that type of person, but it does kind of add up, and point here, a point there, whatnot, all these drop points. I put out some of these matches. I collected them in a photo. If you break down certain matches, about 5 of them, where we should have gotten those results. That's a big swing in points. If you're only talking about 5 matches, a couple of those were losses. Some were win. You should have won them all based on how you actually played on the pitch. We're talking about a ton of attempts, a ton of quality chances too throughout all these matches, and you're coming out with a draw at best. That's the difference between winning the Scudetto and falling somewhere in 2 to 4 is all those other matches, and when you're not getting that was the Juve of old. We would find a way no matter what, even if we were playing like shit. This particular season, even in the matches, we were playing good. We were playing strong, taking the match to the opponent. We weren't getting them, And that's why I feel at what point do we start to put a little more of an emphasis on the guys out there getting the job done and taken away from the manager, Manager, for sure, there's been matches where it's been absolutely pathetic and he got things wrong. But I felt personally more often than not, our setup wasn't really the problem a lot of times based on those numbers and what we're actually seeing in the chance generation and whatnot. But there are more than a handful of matches too where it was just all wrong, and the low block continues to be an issue, but that I come down to characteristics of some of our players. Like a guy like Dybala is crucial against teams that play that way, and when you don't have him available, that's when I start to have problems with our roster, because who are the other guys that can do that very, very well? Maybe Kulishevsky, but not when he's playing out on the wing or as a second striker. Not until late in the season did Pirlo start to drop him in, right? So where's your separation like from manager to players on this particular season and whatnot, in perspective of just the season in its entirety? Like, it wasn't awful every single match that we dropped points. A lot of them we were actually playing well and dominating,
Oh, that's not a rhetorical question.
Where do you stand in terms of, like, at what point do we put some more accountability on the players?
Well, this is kind of just goes back to what I said. So if we're going to put more accountability on the players, where they should have been the ones to kind of step up and make things happen, then I can't credit Pirlo, because it wasn't based on his tactics, his schemes, or anything like that. It was more or less in the hands of the players. So I can't credit him for that. So putting players like Kulishevsky in the middle of basically more central, as opposed to on the wing, which is what we all thought that's what his natural desired role would be. So he found a better place for him. But I also think too that some of his stubbornness, his unwillingness to change formations, his unwillingness to seemingly put what worked on the pitch consistently, was part of the issue. I thought that, in matches that we struggled, he failed to once again implement himself as the manager because of his inexperience and naivety. When it's 0-0 or 1-1 and you can see your guys just not making things happen and you need to make a sub. I don't know how many times we've all screamed that, 15 minutes late, he's subbing players that just didn't make sense. That's just experience. And I don't know if that's something in the future I'm willing to have to go through again. But, the issue too is that, there's characteristics on our squad that we don't have, that we did have in previous years. Size in the box is one of them, so with teams that run a low block, who are you crossing the ball into? Because if you got 2-3 guys man marking Cristiano, we have zero size outside of him in the box. And so you're relying on a creative player like Dybala, who's much smaller, who's probably more dangerous right outside the penalty area in terms of, his shooting capabilities. That in itself plays an issue. So I thought in terms of just matchups, we were already kind of at a disadvantage, especially teams that like to defend and counter. And so those are the matches that kind of determined our season. And those are the matches where I felt that Pirlo was very stubborn in his system, in his formation, and his player selection. And that's why we ended up dropping those points.
Yeah. There's definitely, like I said, you can look at it both ways, with calls that he's made and whatnot. And then, you're right, characteristics. And this is another thing too. People threw the price of our roster at him, right? And just like, look at, he's got the highest paid roster in Italy and whatnot. But for me, that just shines a bigger light on upper management, because I don't think our roster is worthy of that number, to be 100% honest with you. Like, that's just me. When I see that, to me, that highlights mismanagement, because I don't think the roster is strong enough for the amount of money that's out there. And you hear the complaints right across the board from everybody. It's the same names that are brought up when you talk about salaries and all this, whatnot. And I just think that's hard to put on the guy. It's tough. Again, this whole scenario, we'll see what develops. But I kind of do agree with Georg here, just saying that there needs to be a plan prior to signing any players is all. Because you can't sign players and not have an idea who's coming in. We do have to start putting that together. Because, again, the argument would have been for Sarri too. There were some still saying Sarri should have stuck around and we should have given him his players. I don't agree with that just because of his man management and the locker room and whatnot. So I don't agree with that. But the argument could be made for Pirlo to maybe give him some guys and maybe, he does go towards more of what he believes in his thesis or whatnot, because he started to but got away from it. And that's another thing too, is you could see a change from early on in the season, what he wanted to do, and then realizing he maybe doesn't have the guys to do that. We maybe didn't like what he did after that. And for the life of me, I can't figure out how the 4-4-2 became the go-to out of it all. But he did adapt and he did change based on what he had. I just think it took way too long in the year to figure out the best way, and the attitude wasn't there. And I don't know if I put that on him or I put that on the players. An older spine, guys coming to the end, I was pretty critical of our vets down this season, especially down the stretch after January. I was pretty critical of them not matching a couple of the younger guys in terms of that attitude and mentality. So I think it all kind of plays part, and you see it in sports all the time. When you have like a dynasty, say, it always comes to an end. It's not an easy thing to do to just continue this winning and just dominate forever. It wasn't going to last forever, contrary to what a lot of fans on Twitter will let you believe. It's always going to come to an end, but it's how we move forward. So the biggest thing was getting in Champions League, which they did. Pirlo had 2 trophies as well. In the grand scheme of things, for a rookie manager, the guy literally didn't even have his ticket before taking the job. That's pretty damn good.
I think from in terms of like Pirlo as a coach, by no means do I feel like his first season was anywhere near a failure or a bad season. It was hard to watch. It was hard to endure, absolutely. But I feel that I don't know any other literal first-time managers coming in and winning 2 domestic trophies and putting their squad in Europe like that. I don't know. So to me, I'm happy for him. I'm glad he was able to kind of get us to that point. I'm glad the players were able to rally themselves and maybe buy back into his thesis, his philosophy. But I know I give Pirlo credit and I appreciate what he did. I'm more or less upset with Juventus from the managerial standpoint for allowing us to go from where we were to, hoping other teams slip up so that we can make it into Champions League. That's on them.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same. For him, by no means is it a failure. Yeah. For us, our resources, the club we are, it is just yet another mishandled scenario by upper management to have a rookie have to come in there. But it is what it is. Again, we know where we stand. Now it comes down to who's staying, who's going. How do we continue with the players we have? What kind of moves can we see? Donnarumma instantly becomes a first name. Mike Maignan, apparently done deal for AC Milan, which also adds to that speculation and makes it seem that the deal is done as far as any chance of Donnarumma signing an extension with AC Milan. To lose him on a free, I have to laugh at them. We might be in the same scenario with Dybala. We will see, but my God, if you get the opportunity, you have to take it if you're Juventus. I know now it becomes who's going to take Szczesny, but honestly, maybe this also shines a light as to why Pinsolio wasn't renewed. Buffon saying he would never create an issue for Juventus. These rumors have been lurking for quite some time that Juve was heavy on Donnarumma, as they would be, as are Barcelona, as are PSG, and a couple other clubs. Generational talent, Donnarumma, despite what many want to say, the guy's got an insane amount of games, almost 300 for AC Milan. He's 23 years old, starting for the Azzurri. You gotta go in, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Have to go in. Rumored salary around 10 million euros. You just got to figure that out. Szczesny. And here's a question from Banji. Will Tech take a second spot? No. I don't think he'll take a backseat. And I don't think he should. There's a lot of clubs he could be starting for. He's a good keeper. For me, had an uncharacteristically bad season overall. But he could be starting places. And I think we'll move him personally. But, man, Donnarumma, got to bring him in.
Absolutely. And to be honest, I don't know if you're going to get into this immediately, but I could almost see Tech going to Roma under Mourinho. I could see it, see him staying in Italy for a club like that. But the only thing is, Roma's playing in the Europa League tournament spot position or something like that to get into the Europa League. So I don't know if Tech would want to put himself in that position where he's not playing, Tuesday and Wednesday nights. So I don't know if he'll look to maybe possibly make a move back to the Premier League, but I could see a team like Roma trying to get after him.
Yeah. And this is where it gets interesting because Alex says, young Gigi is a must sign. Get him. Offload Tech later if it comes to it. And this is where it gets interesting because I've always said maybe you hold off on the announcement. You can secure things, but maybe you hold off on the announcements in hopes of not showing your cards all the time. And then when you have that, like teams could just know the spot you're in, and then it kind of hurts any type of leverage you have in dealing, even Szczesny and whatnot, right? But I think Szczesny's got a good market. I'm not concerned about selling Szczesny. Then the discussion becomes backup, and Georg coming in here, Odero, homegrown as backup. Perini feels will be sold as he won't take a backup spot again. And Perini, question, didn't really say a whole bunch in terms of his future or whatnot. So be interesting. Those are two names. I don't know if Odero would even do it, as a back. Your thoughts on those guys as potential backups?
I'm kind of with you, both of them being in a starting role for as long as they have. I don't know if they say, I'd rather take a back seat to Gigi at Juventus and play sparingly, but I'm in a Champions League spot. I don't know. I don't know if it's one of those situations they bring up a U23 player, they outsource a second keeper. I don't know. That's kind of a tough one in terms of who would play backup.
It's tough. It is a tough one. And now Anthony's saying he finds it more surprising that some Milan fans are saying they're okay with Gigio leaving since they just signed the Lille keeper. Honestly, that's bullshit. And I had Rui, who's a big Milan fan, on a pre-match in the first time those two teams met, Juve Milan earlier in the season. And I brought up Donnarumma, and he's like, there's absolutely no chance. He goes, absolutely zero chance. He leaves Milan. He's a Milan guy. We'll get that extension done, no problem. Oh, Rui, if you're listening, man, looks like a done deal. So, yeah, I think it's all nonsense if they're saying they won't miss the guy. I haven't seen enough of this Lille keeper to say, but yeah, Gigio, generational, man, generational. Anthony also continued, if you have Gigio, Tech's price goes down. The Sharks will circle. Exactly. That's why I say maybe it's keep your cards close to your chest on that, right? Now let's go a little bit further and let's get into CR7. CR7, the post, everybody read it, a lot of past tense used in there, whatnot. Season farewell, or does it look like he's got his mind set elsewhere, Eric?
I don't know. I read that when he posted it immediately, and I just looked at it as it was a tough season. Thanks for your support. Let's keep going. I never immediately took it as a farewell. And then as journalists do and speculators do, they try to dissect it and find, secretive messages and subliminal messages in it. And then now I'm like, I go back and I read it and I'm like, maybe they are right. Out of all the trophies to win in Italy, it was the Coppa Italia that he was really after for him to say goodbye. It's like, I don't know. I was a little taken by it. I've kind of battled myself back and forth because I'm a fan of him kind of getting off the books. I think he's done more than what he was signed to do. He was amazing for Juventus. It was unfortunate that we did not get the European dominance that in my mind, that we were trying to get with him, which is why we signed him. But he seems like the type of guy, though. He's got 1 year left on his contract. He seems like the type of person that would just be a man of his word. We're in Champions League. I could see him still staying. It was just a matter of him probably winning everything that he possibly could in those 3 countries, because Champions League, he's done that. He doesn't have to win that with Juventus, but he wanted to win all the domestic trophies in England, Spain, and Italy, and he did. So it was weird for me, man, because I took it at face value. Okay, thanks for your support, for everything you guys done. Let's do it again. Let's keep going. And then all of a sudden now it's I want to go home to Sporting. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. Is like, when you break it all down, it's easy to get conflicted, though, because it's like you have this final match, this do or die, and all of a sudden it's like, well, he told Pirlo he's tired. Well, no, that's bullshit. Right. I can't really buy into that. But again, whatever. He's not playing. But then you see the reaction at the end, and he's pumped, with the Verona draw. And I'm like, okay, yeah,
he's celebrated. Yeah, he celebrated getting into the Champions League as if he's planning on playing with Juventus. So.
Exactly, right? So you see this celebration, like, okay, yeah, cool. Then you get this post and a lot of past tense, and you're like, wow, it's a little bit strange. And then, showing just historically, like, all these trophies, talking about conquering these countries, whatnot. And you're like, yeah, that is a little bit of a different style farewell, but again, not going to look too much into it. And then again, it's how do you move him? Even if it's this rumored 30 million euro, whatever, to get him off. First of all, 30 million euro for a team that could afford a luxury player like that could still bang in 30 goals a year. That's almost nothing. It's a salary.
Yeah.
He would have to take, he's got 1 more year on the contract with us at a healthy salary. I don't see him getting that salary. It's not the 30 million transfer fee because honestly, if you go out there and get a 30 goal scorer for 30 million, right. He could still pot the goals. So it's not that, it's the wage. I just don't see the other clubs, that he could potentially go to being able to do that.
It's hard for me to imagine, though, that at 36, almost 37 years old, that money's going to be the driving force that kind of gets him to a club at this point in his career. I think it's going to be more or less of he's going to start making decisions based off emotion and, where he wants to be. And I could almost see him going back to Portugal so he could be near his family and kind of, this is where I started. This is where I want to end. It's not about the money for him. I can see that. And I would respect that if that's what his wishes were.
And I also think he's conquered the 3 top leagues, To go back to England, I don't really like to Man U. I can't really make sense of that.
They just extended Cavani, so it's like I'm trying to figure out if he goes to Man U, how he fits in that. With Rashford, Cavani, I don't know who else would be leaving, so I don't know.
PSG to go to the French league or whatnot. I don't know. PSG's also loaded up financially with the guys they have. So I can't really make sense of it. Maybe it is Sporting, and maybe he would, again, financially, the guy's set, so it's not going to be a breaker if he decides to just go and finish up in Sporting there. I do think at one time he will go overseas to MLS. I think like at one point he will. But it'll be interesting to see with CR7. I think these posts and whatnot, again, all speculation. As far as the fatigue, tired, the Euros are coming up. Who knows? But again, it is what it is. All speculation is going to happen when a big name like that is the one floating around. We did want to have some fun as the season wraps up, talking about best of the season. Okay. We know, and it's funny that throughout the dominance and the 9 straight Scudetti and whatnot, this is the first season we had the Capo Cagnonere during this run in Cristiano Ronaldo. Your best player of the season, everybody who's joined us on the chat, who would you say was the best player for Juventus?
Chiesa, hands down, Chiesa.
There you go. So Cristiano wins Capo Cagnonere. I'd probably give him, obviously, best forward. Ronaldo, hands down, all the goals. Bang. But I think best player of the season, I'd have to go with Chiesa. I put the top 4, in my opinion, out on a post, and Chiesa just cleaned house amongst the other 4. I also got questioned as to why I threw Danilo in there as a shout.
Why wouldn't you?
I got questioned on it. It said, and it was actually just a bunch of laughing emojis, and I thought, wow, how underappreciative is that? For a guy like Danilo who played everywhere, including midfield in certain matches, gave it his all, had the right attitude, was a driving force, and you always felt this is what I looked for in the best too. Guys that hurt your lineup when they're not in there. Chiesa, hands down. Danilo, hands down. CR, have to. Delict was outside shout. Quadrado was another guy that when he wasn't out there, the creativeness suffered, And Alex P, he had Danilo in there too. Ronnie, Panita, Danilo, MDL, and Church with the emoji there. David Fafaro, Chiesa. Event Sarah TV, Chiesa.
I think just reading all these, I think most people all you would have to do a top 5. Chiesa, Cristiano, Quadrado, Danilo, and Delict were probably just the most consistently top 5 players throughout the entire season.
Yeah, CR7, Chiesa, Quadrado, Danilo. Yeah, and I had Delict just slightly outside because, again, of the consistency.
Yeah, he had some issues.
Yeah, he had this little lull, and he finished up so strong.
Yeah,
so strong. But Chiesa, again, great point here by AJ too. The fact Chiesa come in and he's the best player of the season in many people's eyes should make you think twice before you judge management on signings and whatnot, and maybe give these guys a bit of a go. And Kulishevsky finished off incredibly strong. Super frustrating throughout the year, but even in a match where he's very, very good, he shows you kind of both sides.
I'm still so lost with him, man. I've never seen a clumsy, goofy player be so talented. He's so uncoordinated, so predictable, And it's just like there's nothing you can do about it. He's got a phenomenal left foot, man. It's just I think he belongs in the opposing player's penalty area. Like that's obviously where he shines because he can just create magic out of nothing. And then the other 2/3 of the pitch, man, you just kind of forget he's there. But yeah, he's an oddball for sure. Very raw.
Yeah. I think he shows his abilities though for sure, like of what he can do. And I think it's just a matter. He's one of those guys of finding the right spot.
Yeah.
And I think towards the end we did and saw where he could really do his damage. And I said it at the start of the year. I think he just needs to start off more centrally and have that, just be able to look at the defense and move forward. I think when he's playing out wide, or even when he's second striker and he's up high, when he's got his back to goal, is where it suffers, right? He needs to be kind of in a more technical area and be able to advance up the pitch running at defenses. Down the stretch, 4-2-3-1 or even a 4-3-2-1 Christmas tree formation looked to be the way we should have been set up to maximize Chiesa, Kulishevsky. Dybala could slot in there. Is that it kind of has a lot of things that play into the guys that we have hands. The one issue would become CR7 for whatever reason has not adopted that center forward. Just the true 9. He still likes to drift a lot and whatnot. And that's where part of that issue with that system kind of came. So, yeah, take the good with the bad. But best player of the season, we give it to Chiesa. Forward, CR for the goals. Best midfielder.
Now is this just with the Juventus squad, or are you talking about of all of Serie A?
Just Juventus.
Okay. Best mid. That's Jesus. We didn't really have much of a midfield all season, so it's kind of hard to pick. And it's easy, I think, over the last 4 to 5 matches to say Rabiot, but when I look at his play overall, I'm going to say no. I'd have to go McKinney, and I think a part of his downward spiral there, if you will, is just an accumulation of his injury, being put in the wrong position. I thought him being placed out wide in that hybrid role caused a lot of complications in his understanding. You're talking about a kid who probably still can't speak a lick of Italian, so communication is probably very limited, especially on the pitch. And then you give him this role where it's very complicated. There's a lot of cogs and sprockets that have to work together in order for this to work well. And I would say McKinney, if you put him in the right position. And then I would have to probably say Rabiot. And if that tells you how bad our midfield is,
See, and I'm tough on this one. I went back and forth between, like, McKinney came out of the gate like a rocket. It was amazing.
Best 300,000 we spent or whatever it was.
Yeah, and then he did have this hip issue.
Yeah.
And ever since that hip issue, it kind of things changed, and his role didn't necessarily change because he's been used in the same position, and it was kind of just never the same after that.
Yeah.
He also was asked to drop weight, and I've seen that in other sports where that affects players based on like the training regimen.
No, think about what the opposite was, and I of course, here I am on the podcast speaking about Bernadeschi, but think about what they did with Berna. When he came, they actually asked him to put size on. And you can see that over, throughout the years, outside of many other things, how that just the size has affected his gameplay. So I don't know. I thought McKinney came in at a very solid size for what they would want him to do. And it was kind of weird that they wanted him to drop weight.
Yeah. And the other thing is, too, Paulo Dybala is one of those guys, because he was asked to put on, and his pace from Palermo to Juve was
dropped tremendously,
right? So that always affects guys. It can affect them. So McKinney, once the hip thing came in, and then you start hearing about them asking him to drop weight, training regimen changes, diet, whatnot, that can affect guys. And it kind of, maybe that's why. But he dropped off. Rabiot, Rabiot had major consistency issues all throughout, but man, down the stretch, he was ridiculous down the stretch. Really, really good. Still made errors, whatever. Mistakes are going to happen, but man, he was really, really good.
Actually, and Alex P makes a good point here. Best midfielder was Danilo. I would agree. The only problem is I don't think Pirlo used Danilo in the midfield enough to make the argument. You know, he had his 3, 4, 5 matches there where he was great. So I'm just trying to look at this as a whole.
Yeah. And we got Panju coming in. Yeah, Rabiot. Alex P, best midfielder was Danilo. Danilo was great. Wasn't used there enough to fall into the bracket. Let's put it that way. Technicality gets him out there. Sorry, Alex. Juventus Serie TV, Rabiot. AJ, McKennie. Man, honestly, gun to my head, probably give it to Rabiot. You know, start of the year, first half of the year, I give it to McKennie. Second half, Rabiot. There you go. Maybe just give it to both.
Yeah.
Best defender of the season.
God, we struggled in that area. You know, common sense and everything would just point to De Ligt. I think he was colossal, but I'm looking at the match, the Coppa Italia match, where him and Chiellini as a duo were just absolutely colossal in their reading of the game. I thought it was a little bit more of a seamless transition that if De Ligt didn't play, but Chiellini did. Chiellini had some pretty stupid mistakes, you know, down the stretch, just letting his body parts get away from him a little bit. But I would probably also make a shout for Danilo here too. And then Sandro going forward was awful, but Sandro getting moved to the center back role position, the times that he did, played that position very well. So I think I'd have to probably go De Ligt 1A, Chiellini 1B, and then Danilo 3.
Yeah.
We struggled pretty bad in the back.
It's a tough one, man. It's a tough one at the back there. De Ligt, I'd like to go with De Ligt, but I think in terms of consistency throughout the entire season, I'd have to go Danilo, man.
Yeah.
Like it's a tough one. It's a tough one there for me. Let's see what we got here. Best defender, Animesh coming in with Quadrado.
Can't agree there, Animesh. Sorry, bud.
Oh.
He leaves that far post open way too often.
Offensive output there, playing a part. David coming in here with De Ligt overall. Matured a lot this year. Antonio De Ligt, but Danilo was impressive and a pleasant surprise. And Alex P coming in with Danilo. Alex P's got Danilo as best defender, best mid, best forward. And
just put him on. Put him everywhere on the pitch, man. We're winning every match.
I love it. AJ's got Danilo as well. Chad saying can't go wrong, saying Danilo, and Calix coming in with Danilo was really surprising this season.
And this is why he was a top 4 player of the season.
Absolutely. Goalkeeper. Come on.
October, I had been shouting for Buffon to start. So for me, Tech got more opportunities, but without a doubt, Buffon was much more crucial, much better in the game, in the bigger games too. Think about that as Buffon pretty much only played the big games and delivered every single time.
Yeah, it was really telling when we went into that Barca matchup.
Yeah.
Early on in the season, it was like Buffon's going to be there, and the drastic difference you saw in the team was massive. Yeah. Buffon, what's your favorite Buffon moment as this kind of has wrapped up his time with Juve, and what's a moment that always sticks with you surrounding Buffon?
I don't know. There's been a lot, and I'm such a Buffon fan because of his character and him off the pitch. You know, he's just a beautiful person. He's a wonderful example of just a good guy. And so I don't know. I think the most ones that stick with me are the bad memories, the missing out on the World Cup, the 2 final losses in 2015, 2017. and how it affected him and how he was able to bounce back. Everybody could probably point to the World Cup win, and but he's been so great throughout his entire career. It's hard for me to look back and say that's my favorite moment. But that's just how my mentality is, and I probably focus more on the bad moments and how he responded and how it affected him. So the two Champions League losses and the World Cup loss probably would stick out way more than any positive result. And I know that's a bad thing to say, but those were vulnerable moments for the greatest keeper of all time. And so those probably stick with me more than anything else.
Yeah, Buffon, I mean, picking your best moments, it's been an absurd amount. Honestly, this season, seeing a guy like that take a step back and just, he could start for so many clubs. He'd proved this year he could still play first team ball. But to do it, the way he did as well, and then stepping in and being so clutch and crucial and being that driving force whenever he was out there. Always to the voice of reason, never getting too high, but never ever getting low.
Right.
Just incredible, man. There's going to be a week-long dedication to the GOAT keeper off the Juve site, and get ready for some emotion support out, man, because it's going to be some beautiful stuff. 06, staying back, for me was massive. And I think you're right in terms of those Champions League defeats, the heartbreaking ones, and it just shows and he's always showed how much he cares about Juve, how much he loves Juve. It's insane. The things that he did, the things he sacrificed. And I continue to say, I don't give a shit about anybody that throws the Champions League trophy out at him and not having it, because it literally doesn't matter for this guy. He is the GOAT when it comes to keepers. The World Cup in 2006, probably the best tournament hands down from a goalkeeper. Absolutely absurd. Some of the saves in 03, I swear to God, if Nedved was in that lineup, we beat Milan, and Buffon made one of the greatest saves I've ever seen in my life on that header from Inzaghi. Absolutely ridiculous. Semi-final against Real Madrid in that season, stopping PK. He's massive. He's always massive. This season, stopping that PK,
Taking Sassuolo
late. Sassuolo.
Oh, yeah.
Massive. Absolutely massive. Gigi's, we could talk an episode solely on Gigi, which may take place in the offseason as a farewell, going through some incredible moments. Best goal of the season, or your favorite goal of the season, everybody with us live here. The best goal in your opinion, or just one that stood out to you this year?
I don't know the best goals. I feel like there's been some amazing ones. Some by Rabiot, a lot by Chiesa. I would say the most crucial one is a very recent one, and it was Ronaldo's header against Udinese, and what role that played in the end of our season. So I think that one probably carries the most weight. But in terms of just overall best aesthetically pleasing goal, I don't know off the top of my head. We've had quite a bit.
Yeah, we got there's a lot of great goals. Morata versus Fiorentina, that was a beauty, absolute beautiful goal. Chiesa, this was one for me. Chiesa against Milan with the Dybala back heel there. Quadrado's first goal against Merida there. Yeah. And in terms of Chiesa's against Milan, it was the Dybala assist one with the backflip. He scored another nice one in the second one coming off, and I think it was left-footed as well. Chiesa against Porto. That was big goal too. But yeah, in terms of weight, that Ronaldo header ended up being massive. Rabiot's goal, Rabiot had an absolute rocket. I'm trying to think of what team he played against. He came down the left side and he absolutely just
have no idea how he snuck it in, because I know exactly what goal you're talking
short side top corner, just absolute rocket. That was a big goal. It might have been, no, it wasn't Lazio. I can't recall the actual team, but we got some massive goals. The McKennie one against Barcelona got me jacked up with the nice Cuadrado pop over the top, and McKennie absolutely smashing this thing on the volley. Beautiful goal. So a lot of nice goals. Yeah. We're going to wrap up with some fun. We're going to wrap up on a fantasy lineup of what things could shape up to look like next season, just for fun, in terms of what we think could maybe potentially happen, something we might like to see or could be happy with. And I'm going to let Eric kick us off with your potential lineup.
Okay, so my potential lineup, coach aside, because we've got no clue. Okay, Antonio is going to appreciate this. I'm a big advocate of the 4-2-3-1. I like its flexibility. I like what you can do with it. So I have a 4-2-3-1 formation. I don't know if Cristiano's staying. I don't know if he's leaving, but I'm going to do this as if he's not there. Okay, so back right or right back, I have Cuadrado. I have Demiral. I have Delict. I have Gosens. Okay, my two defensive center mids, I have, in my opinion, I have DePaul and I have Manuel Locatelli. At the supporting striker position, I would have Dybala. On the left, I would have Chiesa. On the right, I have Antoine Griezmann. And at the striker position, I have Alvaro Morata.
Interesting. All right. I've got 4-2-3-1 myself. I got Donnarumma at the back. I've got Cuadrado or Danilo swapping around at right back. Danilo could play left back too. I got Demiral. I have Delict. I have Renan Lodi as left back as a Bentancur swap. Just thinking swap deals will probably play a part in. Honestly, I think I'm at a point where I would be okay if they decided to do that and bring in a left back, whatnot, and get Bentancur moved aside. I'd be okay with it. I have Locatelli in the middle, and I have Rabiot staying. So I have Rabiot staying.
Well, you can go ahead and stop this right now. We don't need to hear the rest of it if you've got Rabiot staying.
I have Rabiot staying. I have Chiesa. Arthur, you could put Locatelli, Artur out there. Be okay with that too. Chiesa, Dybala, Kulusevski. And I have the loan being renewed for Morata again. And I have Depay coming in on a free.
Even though he's basically expressed his love for Barcelona.
I don't give a shit about that.
Okay.
I don't give a shit about that.
So
but somewhere along that lines, here's a couple of questions with Rabiot. We talked about our midfielders. It's not saying a lot to say he's the best one up, but would you keep him? Has he done enough to say you keep him even at that wage?
That's the problem. He's maybe, he's a $5 million a year type of guy, and he's playing like it. I don't think you can justify the 7. I don't.
Yeah.
And I was actually
on me for Depay there. I know he's going to Barca. I just want him at Juve. Yeah. I want Juve to get Depay.
But I will say this though, with Ronaldo off the books, let's say that is a farewell. He does go. I think we see a lot less movement, so that we can basically recoup a lot of the money. We don't have to move as many people now. So I think I guess real quick too, is if give me, I don't know, four or five names that you think are immediate sells that are on our team right now.
4 sells, immediate sells. Sandro's one. Ramsey, without question. I think after you get outside those top 2, I think then that's when discussions really start to happen. Because a lot of people will throw Bernardeschi in there, and I think it's not so clear-cut after those 2 for me. I think then it becomes really, like, again, Rabiot, he shows you the good and bad, but when it's good, it can be great. He can also put the ball in the back of the net. Tough, but that wage is so high, and he came in on a free. He could be in that 4 for sure. I see it. Bentancur could be in that 4 for sure. Some people believe Demiral could be in there, but I don't think so. I think Demiral, for me, especially with Chiellini moving on, which is what it seems, I see no reason to move him. But what are your 4 then?
So they kind of the same as yours. So I think the immediate sales are definitely going to be, I think Ramsey's 1. I think if Donnarumma comes, I think Tech would be 2. I would be an advocate of having Rabiot leave based on his wages. Bentancur would probably be number 4 in a swap deal. And then I'm with you because I think everybody is beyond Bernardeschi and the chances that he's had. I'm unfortunately stuck with him as a fan. I've been a fan since his Fiorentina days, and I know there's a good player in there somewhere. I just don't know if it's with Juventus. However, given his versatility and his athletic ability when his mind is right, he's making $4 million a year. He's not heavy on the books. He can provide you coverage in multiple positions. I think you're right. I think it's a little bit more of a conversation, but my thing is not basically we didn't see him. We hardly saw him the last 4 matches. And I think Mino is probably going to try to move him. I wouldn't be surprised. But I would like, I want to see him play, but I want to see him stay. I'm stuck on him. But those would be my top 4. And then, I think you have people coming back, DeShilio, that you have concerns with. And then whether or not, Paulo stays, I don't know either. I think and the same thing you do is like, do you maximize him for his last year? Do you sell him for money, or do you let him walk for nothing next season?
It's interesting too. I mean, obviously we need to wait to find out a little bit more on the picture, what's going to take place, because I don't think you can lose both CR and Dybala, right? So you have to keep one of them. Same thing goes in the midfield. I mean, we've got the main target of Locatelli. There's talks of DePaul, Aouar, whatnot. I honestly see one midfielder coming in, which would be fine. Honestly, wouldn't be the end of the world. Again, plays part if you keep Dybala. Do we go to a system that utilizes Dybala, Kulusevski in helping with the creation out of the middle? Locatelli brings a skill set that we need as well. Would this help free up R2, and maybe we see a different side of R2? There's a lot of question marks, right? But I don't think it's going to be as gung-ho as everybody seems. Even in everybody's that they've added, which have been great potential lineups for next season, there's really only a couple moves in all of ours. Yeah. And that's realistic. There's only going to be a few moves, I feel. Right on cue too, Republica reporting that Bernardeschi is no longer part of Juve's plans for next season.
Well, yeah,
players failed despite the many opportunities that have been granted to him. He will be put on the market, and they will try to sell to the highest bidder. Cristiano Ronaldo, unlikely to find another club willing to pay him $31 million in salary, in addition to the tax benefits he enjoys there. Rodrigo Bentancur and Arthur are almost certain to remain at Juve. next season. There you go with that. Demiral and Ramsey could leave Juve during the summer. Transfer window should offers arrive. Juve would definitely take them into consideration. I think they would take offers into consideration on almost all of these players. Really, nobody's technically safe when you're trying to make $100 million in capital. That's another thing everybody's got to take into consideration. Right?
Well, I'll say this too. I think with Chiellini basically not being a part of the club, whether he retires or goes somewhere else, I think the Bernardeschi-Romagnoli swap is probably going to be even at a higher intensity now, because we need to get another center back, especially with the injury woes of Demiral and his inconsistency with staying healthy. And then obviously also, if you think AC Milan, the loss of Hakan, I think Bernardeschi could probably fill that role too. So I think he's going to be moving on to Milan for greener pastures after the Euros. And I'm okay with that. It sucks because I want to see him in our stripes, but I think he would be a swap deal. So I'm trying to think of what players you could sell to recoup some money.
Yeah. Georg asking, is the Betancourt 50% sell-on clause still there? No, it is removed. They worked to remove that. I believe they finalized it last season, getting rid of that clause with Boca. So, yeah, that would not be there. Yesterday, Romeo Gresti has reported today that yesterday there was a meeting, there was no meeting at Cotonassa, and you'll see what will happen in the next few hours. But at the moment, nothing has been communicated to Pirlo, neither a confirmation nor a departure. So again, all things are in limbo, all things are in the air. But as the season winds down, what a roller coaster, man. Absolute roller coaster. I mean, early on we were in the mix, and then we just hit a lull, and it quickly changed to our objectives to just getting in top four. Nice that in one of our worst years in the past 10, we still come out with a Supercoppa and a Coppa Italia. There's not a lot of clubs that can say that. Okay. So there's still some positives. The guys did find this fight. They found this attitude that was lacking towards the end. Hopefully it's something we can build off. And those trophies are big. They're big for the young guys that are part of this club. You know, Kulusevski, Chiesa, McKennie, De Ligt, like it's big. So we'll see what happens. Again, thanks everybody who's been part of it live. I do have one more surprise, which is giving away the kit, because I was putting out some good vibes towards the end. And I said, if Juve wins the Coppa Italia, if Juve gets top four, I would give away a new home kit to a lucky subscriber. And did the draw, and the draw result was Bob Yogasal. So Bob Yogasal, who is always around and supporting whatnot, congratulations. You got yourself the new home kit. DM me, and we'll make the arrangements, man. Congratulations. Everybody, thanks for joining us on the live. There's going to be much, much more coming through you in the off season. There'll be a pile of stuff to discuss in terms of news, rumors, transfers, and whatnot. We'll be having a lot of fun. Alex coming in rigged. No, it's all good. But thanks again, everybody who's been tuning in all year. It's much appreciated. Don't worry, Alex. That's not the only giveaway that'll be making the rounds. We'll have a lot more stuff coming through, and especially from Striped Hearts. If anybody hasn't checked out Striped Hearts, go to the website, stripedheartsapparel.com. Check it out. We've got some nice Azzurri gear, getting ready for the Euros, as well as a ton of Juve-inspired designs. And if you want something custom, reach out. They'll do that too. So check them out. Eric, always a pleasure, my man. Thanks for hopping aboard on this season. It was a roller coaster, but again, I don't think we're as far off as some may make it seem. And again, in an off year, still get a couple of these trophies.
Yep.
We're okay. We'll see what happens. Let the dust settle on this season. Let's see where the chips lie, and then let's continue to work ahead on getting back to top spot, which is where we belong. Thanks, everybody. As always, Forza Juve, fino alla fine. Ciao.